Greetings, and today we're going to use the Fusing iPaaS platform to generate a children's storytelling application using completely no code. In a future tutorial, I'll go into setting it up so that all the parameters can be changed, and we'll make it'll be more advanced. So let's start by, we're in our flows panel, and we're going to create a new workflow. First thing to do is to give it a decent name. So we'll call it Storyteller, and let's add our first block. So we have access to the new OpenAI platform, and what we're going to do is we're going to use a create chat completion block. So we've done that, and we've added that, and we'll call it ChatGPT. Okay, and we need to configure it. So the first thing we need to do is give it authorization to access the API platform. I've got an OpenAI connector that I've already authenticated and authorized the relevant scopes. From here, I can click in the model. So what we're trying to do here is we're going to use ChatGPT to write our story, to generate the text for our story. So when we click in the model field, it will go and interrogate the OpenAI platform and look for the models that we have access to for this one, for this particular block. So we've got GPT 3.5 Turbo and 3.5 Turbo, the March edition. So we'll go with the latest one. And then for a prompt, we need to key whatever it is we're looking for. So let's do write me a 100 word children's story about a curious puppy. We'll use the word male, named Peter. So all the rest of the fields are optional. We want simplified results, and you can always click here on the little question mark for each field to get a sense of what each of the fields does. So simple return will return just the text, while raw will return a nested JSON structure, so the raw structure from OpenAI. So let's test this one block. We'll see how busy OpenAI is today. So this shouldn't take very long. Once it comes back, we can look at the results. So we got a 100 word, or approximately 100 word story about Peter the curious puppy. And the simplest version of this might be just to email ourselves with the results. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's name the block Gmail. So we added a send email block. And I have a connector for that too. That's just OpenAuth 2, so it's pretty simple. And then in the name, we can check what we want there. So that's going to be from, just call me Peter. We're going to send it to my peter@fusing.com account, because this field takes an email address. The subject line will be just simply, here's your story. And the message is going to be the message from, it's just going to be the story. So let's grab this field here. We can cut that here, and we need to put in an expression field. So we'll go like that, and then in the middle of the expression field, we will just simply, we only need one set of brackets there. We will put in the returns value, which is how the text appears. So we're sending it to Peter@Fusing, and I don't have any mail. So let's check and make sure this works. So we'll run the whole, actually we'll just run this block, and so we'll be using the existing data from here, from this block here. So let's run that. And then I'm hoping that we should receive a new email with our story. So that's the text piece. I think we can do better. We're sending this to a child. In this case, it's me. And we want to send it every day. But let's convert it to an audio book as well. So we can do that by adding a block. And the block can be the Google text-to-speech block. So this is an interesting block. And you'll see that I already have an authorization for this block, and this is what you need to do to set it up, but I've already done that. So Google text-to-speech, we want English as our primary language. We could use Indian, British, Australian as our base. We'll stick with gender, we'll work with the gender female. And then the voice, so this is going to go out to Google text-to-speech and pick up all the voices that are English speakers and female with a USA accent. So you'll notice that this is going out to Google text-to-speech to pick that up. So we should be able to see all of our voices. And excuse me, these don't mean a heck of a lot. Let's use WaveNet C. That's a reasonable voice. If you want more information on the voices, then you can always click on the help, and then there's a link to the Google text-to-speech voices. So it talks a little bit about voices in here, and there's more detailed information deeper within the developer website there. At any rate, we'll talk in that, and then we want, MP3 is fine. Let's put it, these will end up in the file system. And the text we want is going to be the same text we used from before, so we can either cut and paste, but I should already have that in my, should have that there. So we're going to send the text of the story to Google text-to-speech, and then we can test this, but even if we test it and it's successful, there's no way we can retrieve that, this file. But let's have a look at the results, which we'll get after we test this block. So all this block's going to do is convert the text that we received back from ChatGPT to text. It put it in an audio.mp3 file within the temporary folder. And of course we don't have any access, but what we can do is we can take this particular file here and add this as we can add that as an attachment. So we'll do that. Now, attachments have the format they're supposed to be in is going to be in JSON format. So let's do it this way. Let's create an object. So we could just create the object as JSON, and it's essentially the name of the file that we want to appear in the email, and then the actual path to the file. And as you will recall, that we put in temp audio mp3, and we'll call this the story. So story.mp3. So that's the name that will appear in the actual email, and this is the file that it'll go out and grab. So we've placed the ChatGPT text, we've handed it off to Google Text-to-Speech, and then Google Text-to-Speech is going to put that in temp audio 3. We're going to pick that up right here and attach it and send it to our story, to our email. Now we do need to run both of these blocks in order to, so we could run from here to end, and then we should get both the text and the story. So let's go ahead and delete the original one that we have here. And that was successful. So we should have now a story with the audio. So let's play the story, and who knows what it's going to sound like. I don't quite know what that voice sounds like.
Peter was a curious puppy, always sniffing around and exploring every corner of his home. One sunny day, he saw a butterfly fluttering.
So that's brilliant. That's wonderful. So we've written a very, very simple story generator. Let's add one final touch. Let's also use OpenAI to generate an image for us. So let's send over an image as well. So we'll name our block to be OpenAI image or something like that. Always a good idea to name your blocks. So let's start with the connector. We can use our OpenAI connector, which gives us the authorization to use the platform. And our prompt, let's just give it a cute and happy cartoon male puppy with a blue bow tie. How's that? Okay, so we should be good to go with all of the rest of these. We only want one image. 256 is by 256. This is just a demo, so just a little tiny image. And we'll take the URL as the result. So we can actually take either the URL, or we can take, in which case the image will be generated on OpenAI's platform and stored there, or we can get the B64 JSON data back from them. So let's work with this. So we only need to test this block in isolation because, so let's just see, let's just test this and get our returns, and then we'll add that to our email. Excuse me. And then we should be able to run the block from top to bottom, and it'll generate a brand new story for us. And so it put that here. So this is the URL on the OpenAI platform. So we'll grab this field here and we'll add this to our attachments. And then we'll put, so we want to put another one, so we can put as many of these as we want, many attachments as we want. So in this time, the actual source will be this here. Now, interestingly, we can't just add this as a string like this. We actually need to create an expression field here. So I'm going to grab all of this here and create an expression field. I'm going to paste it back in. And so now it needs to be a JavaScript string because we are running an expression. So this now turns into a JavaScript string, and it will get parsed as normal JSON. And for this one, we'll call it image.jpg, because that's what OpenAI sends to us. And then here, instead of just text like this, we actually want to do it this way. So we want to interpolate a string inside JavaScript and do it this way. So hopefully I've got everything right here. So that should put the returned URL here, which our composer will then go and fetch. And so now we'll send ourselves a children's story with the audio file and an image generated by OpenAI. So let's test this. Let's save what we've done so far. We'll save Storyteller, and why don't we go ahead and run this just from top to bottom. Let's run all blocks. And so this time we should get a story. Once this is finished, we should get a story with the corresponding audio and also a nice little image to go with it. So again, I haven't really written a line of code here, so this is all no code. And over here we should have our story. And so we've got our story here, which is a different story from last time. Not very different, but a little bit different. We've now got a JPEG image, which is terrific. Cute little image to send as cover art, perhaps. And we've also got our audio here.
Once upon a time, there was a curious male puppy named Peter. Peter would always
Okay. So the last thing we need to do is figure out how we're going to trigger this this workflow. So perhaps we would send ourselves a story. We'll use the timer. And perhaps we want to send this, let's see, we want to send this every day to ourselves, so we can configure this trigger to be triggered every day in the America Denver time zone, which is where I am, at say 6 p.m. So at 6 p.m. every day, this workflow would run and generate a new story based on my prompt here, which is not going to change. And again, we will, in a future tutorial, figure out how to change the number of words, the topic and the name, so that we could actually monetize this by actually creating a business that is a story writing business. But anyway, we'll also configure things like the email that it goes to and the other parameters within this workflow. But for now, this should be fine. So we've configured this now, and this will get triggered at 6 p.m. every day. So I save this, and then what I need to do is run this from top to bottom and get a successful test. So we'll just run this, and then at that point I can deploy the workflow. I can't do that now because I haven't completed a successful test from top to bottom. Also, we might want to bump a couple of the parameters in our workflow settings. Typically, this might take more than 20 seconds to complete, so we might give ourselves, say, 80 seconds. We would probably increase the amount of a little bit of more memory in our Lambda, or our workflow function. We might give ourselves a little bit of disk size. And of course, if you were setting this up as a service, you might want to notify the team leader, which is generally going to be you, if this ever errors. And OpenAI, being the platform that it is quite busy because there's a lot of demand for it right now. We'll go ahead and name this timer. So the API calls can fail. So you want to look at strategies to mitigate that. At any rate, that's a simple demo that shows you how to create a simple children's storyteller in no code, just using 3 or 4 different blocks. So again, to summarize, this storyteller will generate a unique story based on a prompt, and then turn it into an audio for an audiobook, and then send us an email with that, and then an image also created by ChatGPT. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you, and have a great day.